Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online and TV 15 viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Relika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning, Relika. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. I have some brief opening statements. As of September 30th, 2021, the business payroll support as outlined in the St. Martin Stimulus Recovery Program concluded. Consequently, any cuts to individual salaries for the salary month of October 2021 and beyond is not based on the mandated requirements of the business payroll support. The employee contribution towards the business payroll support was introduced only for the months the program was in effect, which was April 2020 to September 2021. On October 2021, concluded the business payroll support. Any contributions by the employee after the program ended are not based on the business payroll support. Any complaints to this fact will need to be reported to the Labor Department. We've had a couple of complaints and some concerns in regards to businesses still attributing the business payroll support to the cuts. So again, any employees that are experiencing this, please come to the Labor Department and report this. That'll be all, Relika.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Omar Otley, to address you. Minister Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good day to the members of the media, the Honorable Prime Minister, my honorable colleague, Minister of Finance. I would like to start today by saying I am very much pleased with the numbers that we are seeing where it pertains to COVID-19. We have overcome the spike and we are on a downward spiral. I'm very happy for this. I ask the public of St. Martin not to be complacent. Let us continue to follow our protocols. Let us continue to push for vaccination. Those who are vaccinated, I ask you to get your booster shot. At the moment, we have 9,338 lab confirmed cases from the start of COVID-19. Currently, there are 8 persons in the SMMC. We are averaging 25 to 30 cases per day. We are at a 6.9% infectious rate, which is not too bad as compared to the WHO 5% infectious rate as a threshold. To date, we have 7,053 persons that received their booster shots. As of January 28, we have 27,608 persons who have received their first shot and 25,514 who are considered fully vaccinated by receiving both shots. We will continue to monitor the situation, monitor the active numbers, monitor the hospitalizations, and in the coming week, the Minister of TIAT and myself will collaborate and discuss possible extensions of business hours or not. But it is being monitored. We are monitoring the severity of the virus as well. I would also like to say that we had our first community day last Friday, and it was a success. The first community day of 2022, it was a success. And for those that would like to register for the community day, it's held on the last Friday of every month. You can do so by sending an email to togetherwecanwithotley@gmail.com. I would also like to set a reminder to all locals, residents that are traveling. You have to fill out your EHAS before returning home. This is a little redundant, but I think I really need to stress on it because the amount of calls that we get with persons at the airport stranded for not filling out their EHAS. So I need to elaborate on this. Please, if you are leaving the island or leaving the country, please remember, in order to return, you have to fill out your EHAS. I am proud to also announce that we are now working on what is called our Normalcy Strategy. Our first meeting, official meeting was held yesterday. This meeting had members of CPS, members of the Public Health Department. We will further have meetings with SZV. We will have meetings with the Labor Department and also SMMC. These are all the stakeholders needed in order to formulate a proper exit strategy, better known as our Normalcy Strategy. What does this mean? It means that we are putting policies in place that will allow St. Martin to continue as normal. Policies that people would know what to do if they're positive, the labs would know what to do, the labs will conduct sequencing. Some of the stuff that will be in place that we are looking at is slowly but surely, eventually, we will remove the mass testing from the CPS, and it will be to the responsibility of the testing locations, the labs, and the GPs. Just as if you have the flu or any other illnesses at this moment, you go to your GP. Your GP then will have a procedure to follow, and there will also be a reporting procedure if persons are positive. The labs will have to be able to do sequencing to determine the type of virus if there is any new strain that comes about. Also, we are planning to increase our ICU capacity and the ICU personnel. SMMC have sent some staff away for ICU training so that we can better stand on our own. Some of the other things, the entrance requirements will not change much. We will now do research, and as it is right now, boosted persons can enter the country, but unvaccinated will still require testing. Persons who have recovered within the last 6 months will also be eligible to enter St. Martin without testing. That's part of our exit strategy. Of course, with the exit strategy, it comes the part of the nightlife. At that part, we will have no time restrictions. We also need to strengthen the inspectorate department with sanctions and fines, because the Labor Department will be involved, as employers will not, I repeat, will not be able to force employees to work if they are COVID positive. You will not. And if you are found to force employees to work, you will be fined. All of this will be put in place, and the objective is to have this exit strategy / St. Martin's normal strategy, back to normal strategy in place by May of 2022. Our first official meeting with the country of Aruba is today, so we can trade ideas. They have also announced their exit strategy, so we will trade ideas and see what can be used from each other. We had the Vierlander Overleg meeting. This is the meeting with the Netherlands, Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin on yesterday, our first for the year, where we met our new state secretary. And one of his first questions to each and every one of the islands were, are you working on your exit strategy? So I just want to inform the public of St. Martin that we are working on it. COVID-19 is something that we can foresee for the near and the long future. It is something that we will have to learn to live with it accordingly and to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Severa Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to my colleagues, ministers here with us in the press briefing, as well as to the media and the people of St. Martin. Today, I'd like to render just a few updates. The steering committee on Thursday, February 3rd, the steering committee meeting of the EU PAHO will be held with representatives of PAHO, the EU, and the government of St. Martin. The Department of Interior and Kingdom Affairs, BOC, plays a facilitating role on behalf of the Ministry of General Affairs and looks forward to a fruitful meeting with results. Representing St. Martin will be Acting Secretary General of the Ministry of General Affairs, Mrs. Emilia Connor Thomas, Secretary General of Ministry VSA, Ms. Joy Arnell, as well as the Acting Secretary General of VROMI, Mr. Kurt Ruan. The objective of the steering committee meeting is to provide updates on European Development Fund projects for St. Martin, which consist of currently of two multipurpose shelters that are being built and will be pre-stocked. Possible challenges, as well as outline the next steps forward, are all going to be discussed in this meeting. So we expect this to be a very fruitful meeting as we move forward with these two very good projects. I'd also like to update, I think it was already sent out officially, but we did have, as prime ministers within the kingdom, our second meeting with the state secretary, the new state secretary, Van Huffelen, where we had a very good discussion on the way forward in terms of the amendment of the country package. I must update, though, that indeed the agenda for the Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting for this Friday was received last week Friday, and indeed the deviation of Article 25 is on that agenda and will be decided this Friday. So it is clear that the State Secretary is living up to her promises. So even prior to the meeting that we held on Monday, where was a follow-up meeting to the technical meetings that were held that to further discuss the concerns of the countries with the note of amendment related to the COHO. Several good, let's say, decisions, agreements moving forward were made in that regard. And while it will not form part of the decision-making for this RMR, we expect that it will soon be handled, and we look forward to follow-up meetings, more focused on the financial situations within the countries, as this played a very strong role in the discussions of all three countries. So looking at the refinancing of our debt, as well as the whole financial setup as relates to any future projects, programs related to whether it's the country packages or any priority policies of government. So all in all, a very positive meeting, which was then followed by another virtual meeting with the SG-UN. It's a bilateral meeting, meaning between the UN and the kingdom. All four prime ministers were represented in that meeting. So Prime Minister Rutte, Prime Minister Pisas, and Prime Minister Wever Cruz and myself. We all had our opportunities to speak to the relevant topics. I think it is noteworthy to mention that the Secretary General is well up to date on the position of the countries, Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin, as small island development states, and the specific vulnerabilities we face as a result thereof, even as we belong to the kingdom, which is actually a donor country to the United Nations. So in that respect, there was an interest to have further discussions in concessionary financing, special facilities for SIDS to be able to overcome the challenges that we face. Something that was quite poignant was his response that us basing so much of our decisions on GDP solely for SIDS is a very unfair situation, and that they would be looking more towards using MVI, multi-dimensional indexes, to be able to assess liquidity, inflation, and high interest rates, which continue to be a vicious circle for small island development states. The UN Secretary General also highlighted for us as small countries the need for more assistance in sustainability to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, as prior to COVID-19, we were already behind as countries, and with that happening, that we were even now further behind. So there is an interest to assist the countries to be able to live up to those goals, and for us, it is a matter of technical support and capacity building, financing as well, so that we can have the necessary investments to go towards a more greener economy, more sustainable energy, and the like. So all of this was music to the ears of the three countries, and so we look forward to the collaborations that can come out of this with the UN, seeing us as small island development states and the willingness of the kingdom to also further those discussions. Also upcoming on February 7th, we are now into February, so happy new month to all of those. The Ministry of General Affairs, via its Department of Foreign Affairs, is currently preparing for the working visit of Ms. Joke Brandt. Ms. Joke Brandt is the permanent representative of the Kingdom in the United Nations in New York. So all of this is coming, let's say, to a head at a good time. Her visit is scheduled for Monday, February 7th to 9th, Wednesday 9th. There will be several meetings planned with various stakeholders, including His Excellency the Governor, the Dutch representative, the NRPB. UNICEF Netherlands is also here currently in a workshop with our Minister of Education and other stakeholders. The St. Martin Development Fund. There will also be a youth roundtable discussion on these topics, as well as Nature Foundation and other relevant stakeholders. I believe 2022 is indeed a year for us to start to see the rollout of the vision of this government, and I look forward to all opportunities where we can come together involving all our stakeholders to ensure we can do so positively. I'd like to add my encouragement to the people of St. Martin, as we are now seeing improved numbers for COVID-19, to remain vigilant, to continue to build our immune systems, continue to get healthy, and do the good things individually we have to do to mitigate the negative effects. As a government, we continue to encourage persons to get the vaccination, to get boosted if you've already had the 2 vaccinations, as the numbers do not lie, and we see that those persons having the severest conditions are those without. So that's my closing for now, and I look forward to not only hearing more details on our way towards normalcy from the Ministry of VSA and TEAT, but that we as a country also seek ways to do so individually and not necessarily wait for government. Thank you, Rolaika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022.
The Civil Registry Department brings you a message on requesting a family tree.
A family tree shows the link in the relationship between people in several generations of a family. This can be requested at the Civil Registry Department and can be used at the notary for court proceedings. To request a family tree, you must submit the following to the Civil Registry Department: valid identification, a letter with a short description stating the purpose of your visit, relationship to the family, personal data on the person whom the tree is being requested, personal data of family members, mention up to which generation you are requesting the family tree, telephone number, home or mobile, email address, preferred communication channel, authorization letter if necessary with copy of identification of authorized person. Persons whose information were not updated or were not registered in the basic administration will not be included in the family tree. Payment of 80 guilders must be made to process your request. Depending on the length of research, an additional 80 guilders will be charged. Please contact the Civil Registry Department for more information at Swaliga Road No. 1, Phillipsburg, St. Martin, or call us at 1-721-542-0652 or email us at burgersakensxm@stmartingov.org. You can also visit our website at www.stmartingov.org, Civil Registry, Back Office Services.
This public service announcement was brought to you by the Civil Registry Department.
Hey, what's up?
Girl, I heard you moved.
Yeah, I have, but I haven't reached the Civil Registry to change my address yet.
Did you know according to the law, you have 5 working days to change your address after moving?
The changing of address can be done in 2 ways. 1, making an appointment where you appear in person at the Civil Registry. 2. Sending an email to burkazakhansxm@stmartingov.org. What is required to change your address? A valid identification such as a passport, ID card, or driver's license. The deed of property if you're the owner, a lease agreement if you're renting, a GB utility bill, or the permission form from the landlord or property owner, including their identification. Who can change an address? A person who is 18 years or older. For minors, both parents have to give consent. Failure to register your change of address can result in a fine. For more information, please contact the Civil Registry Department at 721-542-0652 or email us at burkazakhansxm@stmartingov.org. We are located at the Government Administration Building, Swaliga Road, number 1, Phillipsburg, St. Martin.
Do you know there is such a thing as teen dating violence? Seriously, there is. When your boyfriend or girlfriend is controlling your every move, trolling you online, checking your social media page, recording you without your permission, or forcing you to do things you don't want to do, this is abuse. If you find yourself in this situation, please talk to someone you can trust. Your parents, school counselor, or the police.
This message has been brought to you by Women's Desk.
The government of St. Martin would like to announce the 2022 procedures for paying vehicle tax. Starting January 1st, 2022, along with the in-person payments and bank transfers, it is now possible for the public to pay online with a credit and/or debit card. Visit services.stmartingov.org for more information on electronic bank transfers. The business community and other organizations are requested to submit a copy of the following documents for their vehicle fleet and/or employees. 1. A valid insurance card. 2. A valid inspection card. And 3. Proof of online payment. The above documents can be dropped off in the receiver's drop box located at the Government Administration Building. Please ensure your documents are sealed in an envelope with your company and/or organization name and contact number. This option is also possible for independent groups such as family members, friends, etc., who wish to receive their number plates in bulk to avoid long lines. Please note this is only applicable for 6 persons or more. You will be contacted within 3 working days to pick up your receipts and number plates. For more information on rates and tariffs, please visit the government's website, services page, and the official Facebook page.
Are you planning on getting married? When getting married on St. Martin, you have to submit a marriage intention by the Civil Registry. This can only be done by 2 persons of opposite sex. This request, whether in person or in writing, must be submitted at least 14 days before the date of marriage. During that time, the Civil Registry verifies the marital status of each individual getting married. If the marriage does not take place within 1 year, the marriage intention process has to start over. The following documents needed are a detailed birth certificate. Unmarried persons must present a declaration of marital status. If widow, a death certificate. If divorce, a divorce certificate. All documents must be originals, not older than 3 years, and may require legalization. Additional information and documents needed are passport copies of the bride, groom, and witnesses. All foreign documents must be translated in Dutch or English. The price for contracting marriage depends on your choice of location and day of the ceremony, whether at the marriage hall or away from the marriage hall, and will be minimum 315 guilders or maximum 725 guilders. Non-Dutch nationals requires attending an interview at the Immigration Department. Marriages will be performed after all documents are found correct by the Civil Registrar. The law separates church from state. Witnesses are minimum 2 and maximum 6. Please contact the Civil Registry Department for more information before planning your marriage.
St. Martin, listen up. The Civil Registry Department has taken 7 services online. That's right, you can now request a family tree, local address change, migration deregistration, a registration form, requests for existing certificates, transfer your driver's license, and a driver's license declaration, all online. Go to services.stmartingov.org/civil registry and easily complete a request form for the service that you need. You can also pay for the services online using a major credit card or debit card and receive certain final products digitally as well. No traffic jams, no waiting in lines, and if you're on island or off, you now have full digital access to 7 civil registry services at services.stmartingov.org/civil registry. That's services.stmartingov.org/civil registry. For more information, call 542-0652. Now go online and request your service form today. So, you want to join the Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard? You obviously got very high standards. Now is the time to get started. Every Saturday, starting January 22nd until February 19th, get down to the Walter Plant Square in Phillipsburg at 8 a.m. sharp for the Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard pre-test to see if you have what it takes to be a Coast Guard officer. For more information, visit kustwacht.org. The Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard, St. Maarten. Strong together.
We now move on to the question and answer session, and I would like to call on Bibi Hart Shaw of SMN News. You have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, ministers. My first question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Jacobs, the Member of Parliament representing the UD faction sent a letter to the Ombudsman regarding the budget debate and voting on the budget, knowing that we still do not have a deviation from the RMR. Can you tell us if the Ombudsman has given any kind of advice or shed any light on her thoughts on the budget? And can you tell us also if there's any possible consequences for utilizing the 2022 budget as we speak now?
Thank you for your question. I actually should have had opening remarks on this topic. I think it's uncanny that these situations arise. We have the law, we have our constitution, and we have our realities as well, and the intention of a law. We have, as government of St. Maarten, and we continue to talk about heavy-handedness within the kingdom, etc., etc. But government has done everything that they were supposed to do, that we were supposed to do in preparing for this budget. Yes, we were late, but the process to the back and forth, part of that lateness was also the back and forth with the CFT in meeting the conditions or the norms, etc. As such, the request for the deviation went out in time. The budget's trajectory is then to be handled in Parliament. So if you want to just look sec at legal advices, if you want to look sec at what is being said, it is the ratification of the budget cannot be done without a deviation. So what I'm asking is, does the Parliament not agree that we have to deviate from our budget? That is what you approved last week. The government then has to await Parliament to send the documents to be finalized to go towards the government. While we have received certain documents up to my update received yesterday, not everything has been received. So when I was on the floor of Parliament, and especially in my closing statements or subsequent statements, whether it's in the press or in press releases, that I stated that there is a trajectory of handling the actual document that is the law. It leaves Parliament after it finalizes its report, and it comes to government. We have to ensure that it's the correct version, etc. Then we apply the changes that have been approved. Several notas, notas van wijzigingen, as well as amendments, have to be applied by the government to the document that is then approved or signed off on by His Excellency and the government. That is the ratification. We're not there yet. We haven't finalized the process yet. So come Friday, once there is an approval at the RMR, the final step to forward the document will be there. But I doubt that by Friday, we would have finalized the process to send it, if I'm clear. So I do not know whether the Ombudsman has received it as a, sometimes they determine whether it's a valid or not valid request. We will hear that, as we usually do, from the Ombudsman, and until then I have no comments in relation to that, except to say that all the relevant stakeholders that have to sign on to this law are of the same opinion, that the trajectory that has to be followed. And the reality of the time it takes post-handling in Parliament to ratification totally depends on all the changes that need to be made. And I'm sure that once we have the Edamer decision on Friday, the rest of this discussion would then be moot.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Linda and TV. You have the floor.
Morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to Minister Omar. Yeah, Minister, are we still on the race to normalcy? Can you specify how soon normalcy will be visible? Minister, you also mentioned about people forcing people who are infected to work. How about people who are dismissing their workers who do not vaccinated? So please explain that to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Yes, we are on the race to normalcy still. As I just stated, we are working on our Normalcy Strategy, which is the exit strategy. This is to be in place by May. That's our target date, to have everything in line. This does not mean that we will not slowly make adjustments as time go by, but May is a target date, and I think a fair date. And according to scientists around the world, they predict that May will be the lowest point that we have ever seen with COVID-19. Possibilities for resurgence, but May will be the lowest point, is the prediction. So that's our target date. Yes, as it pertains to persons being laid off because of vaccination status, that is not correct. That is not legal. I have spoke about it numerous times. I spoke about it in Parliament. Actually, even a motion was just brought in Parliament, but this is our belief. We have always said it. You can't fire anyone for not being vaccinated. This is why we have done everything within our power to give the unvaccinated the benefit of the doubt, which we allowed business owners or employers to request testing from their employees, whether vaccinated or not. So my thing is that if you are, you feel not secure because the person is not vaccinated, you have the ability to ask this person to test or require testing from this person. All of this was done in efforts to stop this trend. But however, on the same note, if this is done, if anybody at the sound of my voice, if this has been done to you, then you have the Labor Department to file your dispute. And then we can then wait on the court's decision to then move forward. So definitely it is a practice that I am against. We have done everything in our power to ensure that unvaccinated have the same rights. Unfortunately, we are seeing in different countries, the larger countries, they have implemented their own rules, their own laws. So if persons want to travel, eventually it'll be the way of the world. But we're speaking about employment, and definitely that is not something that I am for. So I ask again, anyone that is going through this, please make your way to the Labor Department. We will handle your dispute. We also do legal fees at the department, in which you can handle your disputes with the court, and then we can await on a court verdict. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley, and thank you, Lyndon. I would now like to invite Rav Kantab of Phillipsburg Broadcasting. You have the floor.
Good morning, Ms. Roach, and good morning to everyone in the room. My question is for the Minister of Finance in absence of the Minister of Roaming. And my question is, can you confirm if the government has plans for GB's property in Hope Estate? And I ask that because from what I understood, that property was slated to allow GB to cut their expenditure and enhance their operations by building their own warehouse, workshop, garages, and so forth, but the government expressed plans for the area. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Kantab. In regards to the plans for government in GB, I'm not aware of that from the government side, but I will confirm with the Minister of Romy if there are plans on GB side for that area.
Thank you, Minister Edion, and thank you, Ralph. I would now like to invite Daniela DeWint of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm again not sure who this falls under exactly, so I would like the appropriate minister or substitute to answer. The Daily Herald understands that the national flag at Bell's Lookout Point is currently maintained by the voluntary corps VKS, who often have to wait for government funds to pay for the repairs for the flag and its rope, which are necessary about every 2 weeks. Does the flag maintenance plan fall under government responsibility? And if so, are funds allocated for the flag's frequent repairs?
Yes, I was alerted that there was an article in the Daily Herald today about that last week or the week before. In the process of taking down the flag, several videos circulated, etc. Indeed, the wind and the height does require a very strong flag. The flag is quite expensive, and I was updated in terms of price to replace as related to price to repair. The flag is being repaired at the moment. It falls within the Ministry of General Affairs under facility services, and it's just one of the running costs that we have as government. So it will be up as soon as it can be, and of course we thank the VKS for their assistance in getting it up and down, as it is quite a large and heavy flag and requires quite some manpower to do so. So this will be rectified as soon as possible, and it's being worked on as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Daniela, for the question. We now move on to the final round. Bibi Hot Shaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. My question to the Minister of Health. Exit strategy, good news. Minister, Carnival 2022 in April. Your projected time is May. I'd like to know if St. Martin is going ahead with Carnival 2022. The SCDF is busy with their preparation. Will this proceed? A yes or no? I'd like to know decisively. And Minister, what if there is another surge? Last week you told us about the Delta Cron and all the crons that are possibly out there. Yes, we'd like to get out of this, but what if?
Thank you. Very, very good question. At the moment, yes, Carnival is, well, based on the health protocols, based on them understanding that things are subject to change, Carnival, from my opinion, has to go ahead right now. I don't see, let me put it like this, I don't see no reason to cancel Carnival at this moment. Their protocols are tight. Omicron came about, so we are making adjustments. When I say we, they would send me their protocol, I would go over it with the team, and then we would tighten the loose ends. So at this moment, I don't see a reason to cancel Carnival. The reason that we are projecting May, and I also stated that that doesn't mean that during the course you won't see some changes within our procedures and our regulations, but May we think would be the ideal time, especially with Carnival coming. We want to have a safe Carnival. Okay, so, and we noticed now in the beginning, we were one of the first to announce that we would have Carnival with these measures in place. Since then, Trinidad has announced now they have Carnival. They once was canceled, they have Carnival. Dominica now announced they have Carnival. And other countries within the region are now announcing they have Carnival. And they are doing it identical to the way that we put out our protocols. So I like to think that we are trendsetters. And yes, one thing, we have the exit strategy, but I would like to call it the normalcy strategy. So when you do your article. And definitely, if there is another resurgence, what we are doing is preparing the public on how to deal with it. One thing I can tell you, if there's another resurgence, the way to deal with it won't be no different than we dealt with the Alpha, the Delta, the Omicron. I think we all know what to do at this point. You don't need me, the Prime Minister, the government to say, stay in your house. You don't need us to say, wear your mask at that time. You don't need us to say, get vaccinated. You know what, stay away from crowds, or, So what we plan to do is we have to learn to live with it. We have to learn to live with it. Now, unfortunately, let me say this, if there's a variant that is, which I pray not, more deadlier than the Delta virus, of course, then, it requires me to step in and say, okay, whether we have to scale back, but I'm trying my best not to do this. Every time we do it, we see the negative effects on our economy. We see the negative effects on our island. And one person that often comes to my office is the Minister of Finance. And I know the struggles that we deal with. So it's time that we prepare to deal with it. It's nothing is really going to change.
Thank you, Minister Otley, and thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Yeah, this question can go between the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister. Recently, the Juliana International Airport have been, I can say, battered by the strike. It have shown how important the Juliana International Airport is to St. Martin. Minister, did you have any dialogue with the airport board? Of the way forward, seeing that the financial aspect of the airport have been challenged because of the strike?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. The Minister of TEAT, I believe, last week gave us several updates. We were in meetings together. No further meetings have been held thus far. We're in constant communication. As basically the speaker, the chair of CoM, the recovery projects on the NRPB fall under me as well. So I'm in direct discussion with them. We're doing everything to ensure that our stakeholders know that good governance will be maintained at the airport at all levels, and all the boards have to do their due diligence in holding the other accountable. So there is a shareholders meeting being planned. It has not yet been called. And as soon as that is planned and we have an update in that regard, we'll be able to share that. What we do encourage all is to remain as much as possible cognizant of the image that we portray out there when we discuss confidential matters. A lot of things could have been resolved differently, in my opinion, and I look forward to us doing that. I do know that we have other requests coming in from the various stakeholders within the airport, looking at all types of things, including safety, and that also has this government's attention and will receive the necessary follow-up.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Lyndon. I would now like to invite Rav Kantav of Phillipsburg Broadcasting. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. My question is for the Minister of Finance again. And my question is, can you provide us with an update on the Mortgage Guarantee Fund as far as who are the appointed board members? And can you also explain how exactly does the fund and board operate? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Kantav. I have to confirm the last board member has been appointed. The Mortgage Guarantee Fund is taking a little bit more time than we wanted. I think I previously mentioned this before, the process to get the fund back up and running. The fund had outstandings at the Chamber of Commerce. And also the fund is two-tiered. So there's a foundation, which is basically the supervisory board, and then you have the management board, which is in the NV. And the NV now currently has no directors and so forth. So that also has to be done. So an interim director at the very least needs to be appointed for the fund to actually be operational. So we started off with fixing the supervisory board, so getting the foundation back up and running, dealing with the prior debt, clean that up. And now I believe the second person has been appointed. I want to confirm. And then the foundation then chooses the third person. So right now we have the second person, which was chosen by the Bankers Association, which is Michael Lake and Henry Lynch, the two current board members. And the third will then be appointed by them. So right now the foundation, the supervisory board now is now the ones are in control of getting the fund up and running. So it's no longer in government hands. Our task was getting the foundation up and running so that it can start to function. Now, their task now would be to establish the budget and so forth, and also get the NV up and running. What I can do is I could share I'll confirm, I can ask them to share the former documents of what it was before, and in there you will understand what the task of it was. We did have, as I mentioned prior also, there were 7 persons that got funding through the Mortgage Guarantee Fund since it was established, and nothing was done since then. So the idea is to get it back up and running to help those that need or that will qualify for support in the future.
Thank you, Minister Edion, and thank you, Ralph. I would now like to invite Daniela DeWin of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you. My next question is for the Minister of Finance. The Daily Herald was wondering what the current financial status of the country is. You said during the budget debate that we had no buffer. Has the situation improved? And how much do we have in our coffers currently?
In regards to our current financial situation, I want to be clear because you mentioned the budget. You meant for what we expect for the rest of the year, or forecast for the rest of the year. Okay, so you're nodding. So as according to the budget, we forecast a deficit of 124 million guilders. That has been approved by Parliament also. In regards to our buffer, we haven't had any liquidity support for the first quarter. So our buffer obviously is longer than a month. Last year is when I mentioned that we don't have a buffer in regards to our finances. The first quarter has been a little better than expected. So we have now gone into our second month of liquidity support, and we aren't expecting any liquidity support until the second quarter. I would say that our buffer is the first quarter of this year. I think that answered all your 3 questions, right?
Thank you, Minister Edion, and thank you, Daniela. Members of the media, the viewing and listening public, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Members of the media, any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers and radio listeners, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022. For rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telems Tel TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and TV 15. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube page. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.